Turbulence reminds us that we are in flight. You don't have the bumps if you never leave home. So any of us that launch out on our big adventures, no matter what course we're trying to fly, you will feel turbulence, but chances are you'll make it through and you'll be stronger on the backside. It's time to course correct, right? Small changes. That's what we do as pilots, 10-degree changes in our course to make it around those big storms, because we are not locked on train tracks. And we need to remember that. No one's saying, you must be here, you must make this choice.
There's a woman from Denver, her name is Amelia Rose Earhart.
A woman named after Amelia Earhart. And so you're planning on recreating her trip around the world.
A young woman set out to complete the journey that Earhart never did.
Just minutes ago, another Amelia Earhart took off.
I feel like it's a part of me, it's what I was born to do, and now we did it. We finished the flight around the world.
Hi, I'm Amelia Rose Earhart, a round-the-world pilot, journalist, and professional speaker. In 2014, I completed my lifelong goal of flying around the world. I recreated and symbolically completed the flight of my namesake, Amelia Mary Earhart. As a pilot, I know the only plane that hasn't encountered some form of turbulence, whether it's resistance or difficulty or fear, is the plane that stays locked up in a hangar, never to see the light of day, and never understanding the great heights that it's capable of reaching.
I started planning a flight around the world. I didn't have an airplane, I didn't have an extra dollar to my name, but I decided, let's do this. I called up the manufacturer of the aircraft and I said, Pilatus, my name is Amelia Earhart. I want to fly around the world, I want to do it in your airplane. But after meeting and going into the office and saying, please listen to me, I have a business plan, I promise you're going to get your name out there in so many different ways, let's do this. They said yes.
Through 14 countries, over the course of 18 days. I flew 108.6 flight hours in a single-engine aircraft. And by the looks of this map, a lot of you can tell, about 80% of the flight was over water. And that will start to mess with your head. You think you're hearing noises in your car when you're going down the freeway? Something might be off. Noises appear in airplanes about 80 miles offshore, because that, in the Pilatus PC-12 at 27,000 feet, traveling at about 270 knots, that's called the point of no return. So I was told at about 9 o'clock that morning I needed to head out to the Pilatus PC-12, which was stationed right in the middle of those airplanes. Now, show up and we're going to meet with some press. There'll be some photographers there and we'll answer some questions. It'll be really brief. So we show up and there's a pretty big crowd gathering around and I'm thinking, okay, I hope I've got my answers straight. I'm a little nervous. The plane's there. It's just gleaming in the background and I'm so excited. So people start wondering, well, who the heck is this important person, right? Important person that they should be looking out for. Meanwhile, I'm looking for the same thing, going, who else is going to show up here that I'm excited to meet? So the crowd starts to gather, and the photographer, one of them says, well, Amelia, step up on the stairs of the door of the aircraft like you would walk inside. So I say, sure. So I step on up, and this is like news, Amelia, right? You see this on 9 News in the morning. I'm probably ready to point at something like I am now. It's a nervous habit. But holding a clicker is too, so this is actually a comforting feeling for me. So they say, step up on the stairs of the airplane and we'll snap a few shots. Well, this crowd's gathering, and I see a gentleman in the background, and he's looking very much like a captain. He's got his epaulets, 4, of course, because he is a captain. They are gold and glowing, very shiny, just like his gold chain that he's got around his neck. Pressed white shirt, black pants, and patent leather shoes. And he steps out of the crowd because it's sort of a low moment here as the photographers are readjusting. And he says to me, ma'am, I see you taking a picture next to this airplane here. Would you like to have a pilot in your photo with you? And I immediately think to myself, oh, this is going to be fun. And so I very innocently say in front of the entire crowd, which everyone who knows me is like, oh, what is she going to say? I say, excuse me? And he says, oh, yeah, I fly this plane, so I thought if you're going to take a picture next to it, I could, show you around a little bit. I could take a picture with you. And I said to him, well, sir, there is a pilot in my photo. And you know what he did? He leaned over and he looked inside the airplane. And that is one of those moments that I will never forget because it felt so good. It felt so good to exceed the expectations that he had for the woman that he was looking at. He looked at me and thought, no, she can't fly that plane. Why would she fly that plane? Why would a girl like that want to fly an airplane? Because it's the most joyful thing I've ever taught myself how to do. During my keynote address, I'll share my strategy of creating a personal flight plan that you can use on any goal that you set out to achieve. And I'll teach you how to use that plan towards any idea that you have, be it personal or business related. On the day that you were born, and the day that your parents wrote Amelia Earhart on your birth certificate, he says, did the FAA, the organization that runs, of course, all the airlines and gives pilots licenses, did the FAA walk into that delivery room and hand that little baby a pilot's license just because her name was Amelia Earhart? And I said, no, don't be ridiculous. And he said, that's right. You have done all the hard work that any other pilot at your level of training has done. You set your mind out to do this flight around the world. You spent 2 years and in your entire life savings planning this flight. And if you want to be related to Amelia Earhart, you be related to her by choice. Be related to her sense of passion and excitement for adventure and aviation. Get out there and learn who you are by showing the world that it doesn't matter where you came from, it only matters where you're willing to go. I can guarantee there will be bumps along the way. There will always be turbulence. But that is the only sure sign that you have that you've made the important decision to take flight towards your goals. Blue skies. The most beautiful question that was asked about the trip, and it came from my father. He said, honey, when you get back from your flight around the world, do you think the world will feel like a bigger or a smaller place? And now that I've traveled 28,000 miles around the equator, flown around an entire planet, I know now that, of course, the world is a much, 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 much smaller place if you choose to make it that way. But it is so much bigger in terms of the beauty and the potential that it holds for all of us. Thank you very much.